Columbia, based at UBC, and similar positions at other Canadian universities. So they are working and they feel threatened because they feel that they are not reaching enough, and with money they could do it. They couldn't do it the last 55 years, they're not going to do it now, and we will win. I'll just mention an example because Libby and Sven were part of a meeting at the UBC last March, I believe, and they tried to disrupt that meeting at UBC, and they couldn't do it from the students. They didn't have strength enough at the student level at UBC to pull what they did. They came and filled the hall, and the students who came later couldn't even have seats to attend. A report in the Jewish Western Bulletin a week after the events, they said they were praising this disruptive action and this disruptive manner that they really disrupted a pro-Palestinian event. And they said, I'm quoting from March 7th this year, Jewish Western Bulletin, special kudos go to Executive Director of UBC Hillel, Eyal Lichman, the Hillel students, and substantial number of non-students. That's their quote. Substantial numbers of non-students who joined in, including some, listen to that, including some evangelical Christians who came to show support for Israel. So that shows you, you know, when they were there, they denied they are not students. They said we all students. But the bulletin is saying clearly they weren't only students. They were helped by not just the Zionist community, but Christian Zionists out of not from the campus. So that shows you how they were, and again another example of Christian Zionism. There is 72 million of them just in the U.S. And without the support of those, that includes George Bush. He's a Christian Zionist. That includes him. 72 million. Without them, Israel can't survive and can't maintain its occupation and aggression and war crimes against the Palestinian people. I just like to finish on a good note, and I'm gonna quote the Canadian Jewish Congress chair, the chair of the Canadian Jewish Congress, who being interviewed by the Jewish Western Bulletin in the middle of his term, and he basically assessed the work of the pro-Israel activism in the city, especially in Vancouver. His name is Nissim Goldman, and he was quoted as saying that expanding support for Israel is an area where the Canadian Jewish Congress, CJC, has to work harder, said the chair. I very much like to have more effective Israel campaign within the general population, he said. We have tried, but I don't think we have the necessary resources. They don't have enough money, poor guys. And he goes to say, which is really a testament to all of you, all of us here, that he said, pro-Palestinian activism is well organized and well funded. He said. I guess our action speaks louder for all the finances we are talking about, he said. And this is the testimony from him, and that has had a very effective impact on the discussion here in Canada. So let's keep it up, and let's also make sure that the people who are supporting Israel, they should realize sending 8,400 people within 1 year, that's 2002, to serve in the Israeli so-called defense forces is a war crime. And Canada, the US should treat them as war criminal. We shouldn't allow that. Any support, $6 million from Vancouver, who are participating and who helping Israeli war crimes, is complicit in these war crimes, and they should recognize that and they should know that. Thank you very much. And without further ado, I'm really honored to welcome Sven. Sven is a long-time supporter of the Palestinian cause. And we are really indebted for him for all the work and for all the awareness raising stuff he did all through the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So we thank him and we welcome him to the show.
Well, we have a Palestinian homeland in the Lower Mainland. I feel such a sense of joy and celebration to be able to join with you today, together with my dear friend and colleague, Libby Davies. Great advocate of justice, peace. I'm also delighted to see many other friends here. I see Mary Wu Sims, who's seeking the federal New Democrat nomination in this constituency in Vancouver Kingsway, a good friend of the Palestinian people. I have to confess only one slight regret, and that's that this wonderful community center is not in Burnaby. But, but nevertheless, I'm so pleased to see this happen. The truth is desperately needed in the struggle for justice, peace, liberation. Because I firmly believe that anyone who knows the truth, who witnesses the truth, who hears the truth of the Palestinian people, cannot help but join in the struggle to end the brutal, illegal, dehumanizing occupation. So I celebrate this center opening because it's a way of helping to get the truth out. It's a way of celebrating Palestinian culture as well, a wonderful, rich culture. It's a way of helping to give those who are not just Palestinian, but allies, a place to join our voices, to bring our message of solidarity and hope. Some of the most important positive developments in Palestine in recent days, I think, have been the courage and the power of those who have stood in solidarity with the Palestinian people. And I was proud to nominate for the Nobel Peace Prize the International Solidarity Movement. Spoke with the parents of Rachel Corrie, and I was moved to tears, I have to tell you, by the courage of that woman, standing up to that bulldozer, losing her life in the struggle for justice. She's a hero. And I think those in the International Solidarity Movement and others who stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people are heroes for me as well. I was delighted to see the flag here. It made me nostalgic for my office in Ottawa. Libby knows I have a big Palestinian flag in my office as well. So today we celebrate. I have to say I feel a sense of both joy but also of sadness. We lost a great spokesperson for the Palestinian people in Edward Said. Terrible loss. But at the same time, there are some very positive developments as well. I was so proud of the 27 members of the Israeli Air Force who said they will not be party to the illegal action. So we have much work to do. I know that Libby and I are here and bring a message of solidarity from our colleagues in the New Democratic Party, our leader, our national leader, Jack Layton, and our colleagues in the party. I want to assure you that we will continue to speak out. Libby has traveled to the Middle East, as have I. We will continue to speak out against the occupation. We will continue to speak out against the appalling increase in settlements, and you may have seen that they just announced even more settlements just in the last week. Even as more settlements go up, Palestinians' homes are being demolished. We will continue to speak out for respect for the rights of Palestinian refugees to be treated in accordance with the principles of United Nations Resolution 194.
Yes!
And finally, we will insist that our government, the government that speaks on behalf of the people of Canada, must end its shameful silence and its cowardice on this issue of fundamental justice. They recently abstained on a resolution which merely reaffirmed the core principles that the United Nations has sought to implement in the Middle East. Canada sat on the fence, didn't even take a stand. That's not good enough. It's not good enough when we're talking about peace and justice for the Palestinian people. So thank you for inviting me and Libby to be a part of this celebration, this opening of the Palestinian homeland in the Lower Mainland. I am delighted to be here, and I look forward to working closely with you and continuing to work closely with you until the day in the not too distant future when the children of Palestine have a free and independent state in which to live.
We really have lots of work to do, especially on the Canadian government. It wasn't the only resolution. Also, I remember that what triggered Sven's trip to the Middle East last March, when the Canadian government abstained at the Human Rights Commission, basically denouncing the violations of Israeli practices in the occupied territories. And instead of voting with, which is really shameful, and they really, in doing that, they be basically encouraging occupation, encouraging war crimes. So I thank you, Sven, for exposing that also. And I think it's important not to be complicit and not to be an apologist for these policies by trying to find excuses for the Canadian government by saying, oh, they abstained, they didn't vote against it, which is nonsense, because abstention is complicity. I really want to introduce Libby Davis. Libby Davis is the conscience of humanity in this city. Libby Davis is our conscience in this city. She is for human rights, not just for the Palestinian people, but for all the oppressed and the poor people, whether in Vancouver or in Canada or all over the world. Let's welcome Libby Davis.
Well, thank you very much, Hannah. And I'm just going to be very brief because I feel like Sven did such an amazing job of saying what's important about this day. But I did want to be here today because I'm actually very proud to stand here behind the Palestinian flag. This is a small place, but this is a very important space, politically and culturally in our city. And I just really want to say that I know it took a huge amount of effort from individuals and organizations to actually create this space. I know that you face difficulties in renting places. You're in a great location, and maybe your second office can be in Burnaby.